Okay, thanks everybody for joining us for our webinar today, How to Run a Killer Account-Based Strategy with Paid Media and Behavioral Intent. My name's Colin White and I'm going to be your MC today. I'm pleased to be joined by Gil Allouche. He is the co-founder and CEO of Metadata.io. Thanks for joining us, Gil.
Thank you, Colin.
And also, we're pleased to be joined by Tukan. He's the CEO of LeadSift.
Thanks, Colin.
Great. So before we get started here, I just want to go through a couple of housekeeping items. So we are recording today's webinar, and everybody who attends will be receiving a link to the recording within a day or so afterward. Also, we will be taking questions at the end of the presentation today, but feel free to use the Q&A box and in the GoToWebinar console. Use the questions box to enter your questions at any time, and we'll answer them at the end of the presentation. So we expect the presentation to run about 20 to 30 minutes today, and then we'll do Q&A after that. So let's get started. So first, I'd like to just quickly go through the agenda. We're going to talk a little bit about the problem of account-based marketing and account-based advertising, and then we're going to drill into some solutions for some of those problems. And we'll be talking with Tukan about LeadSift and their ability to provide behavioral intent data. And then we'll be also talking to Gil about Metadata's automatic account-based advertising platform. And we'll finish up with some results, some real business results from some of our joint customers, and then followed up by Q&A. So without further ado, I'm going to kick it over to Gil to start off.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Colin. So let's start with the problem. Why are we here today? We're here today because for a CMO in a B2B company, the average tenure is about 18 months. And they have 18 months to generate pipeline. For CMO, their whole world surrounds around building pipeline for sales. And they don't have too much time to do and prove that they can do it. In addition, it's becoming increasingly difficult to actually manage all the different tools and applications in your marketing stack. Each and every one of your marketing tools kind of saves the data internally, and then you have to spend all of your day moving data around from one application to another, and then operating all of those tools. You have to set up the UTM tags, buy data, segment data, do A/B testing, onboard audiences, and then, of course, actually operate all those technologies, sending email campaigns, optimizing landing page, so on and so forth. The big challenge around that is that you're becoming very, very operational, and you end up spending all of your time just operating those technologies instead of having those technologies automate the work for you. Furthermore, when you want to do some optimization and try to understand what in your marketing mix works and what doesn't, you end up using the A/B testing functionality, which is a little bit of an old functionality at this point, because in marketing, especially demand generation in B2B, there are many variables for running your digital marketing mix. For example, there is the collateral that you're deciding to engage with, like for example this webinar. There is the channel that you decide to promote your asset. Could be email, could be Facebook, LinkedIn, programmatic ads, etc. There is the campaign type. There is the audience. There are many different. There is the creative, the copy. There are many different variables in digital marketing, and A/B testing just one variable is just too slow and won't help you scale and really understand and find the 20/80 rules in your digital marketing mix. So what we're presenting here is essentially an automatic process for completely automating all of the different operations for running account-based advertising, for essentially activating those accounts that you want to go after. You know it either because this is a list of your named accounts, these are companies using your competing technologies, these are companies who have buyer intent that LeadSift is able to provide to you, and say, okay, those are accounts that I definitely want to go after because currently they're in the market for my product or solution. And I would like to activate them, get them to come to my website, get them to come to my landing pages, opt in, and then start a sales conversation or exploration with them. Next slide. And so these are the four kind of pillars that we see as the best practices for account-based advertising. And so the first step is really analyzing. Like before you spend $1 of your media budget, you really want to make sure you know exactly who it is that you are targeting. We call it pre-targeting, getting a list of accounts and getting a list of people within those accounts that you should go after. And you can come up with that list in multiple ways. First of all, you can analyze your historical data. You've successfully sold to customers in the past. Why not go back into your Salesforce data, prioritize all of the opportunities that you've either closed win or closed lose, and understand everything about the types of accounts that were involved with those opportunities. Perhaps you can rank all of your opportunities by the amount and then the time to close and the status, so that $1 million opportunity that was closed won within a year is going to be ranked higher than a $10,000 opportunity that took, let's say, a year to lose. But nevertheless, you want to take all of those accounts into consideration and then start to understand who is it that you've successfully sold to in the past, and based on that, generate a lookalike audience. You can also generate a list of accounts just by going to your salespeople and say, who are your 1,000 named accounts for the year or 5,000 named accounts for the year, that if I was able to get you some of those accounts to come to you and raise their hand, you would be happy. So you can generate those accounts based on kind of knowledge of the tribe. You can also leverage buyer intent. So companies just like LeadSift, and he's going to go into the Tukan will go into it in a moment, can tell you which accounts are currently in the market for a product or solution. They can go together many different signals that they see on the web and say things like, oh, your competitor, your customer is currently discussing or talking to a competitor, or your customer currently is reading an article in something about your category or your field. So there are many ways of essentially generating that initial list of accounts and the people within those accounts that you want to go after. Usually, it will be the similar persona that you've successfully sold to in the past, and you just want to match that persona in a new list of accounts. Okay, so you have the list of accounts, and now you want to understand exactly who is it within those accounts that you should speak to. Who is it that you need to touch, quote unquote, in order to close the deal? And usually in B2B, you're talking about a buying committee. It's not just one person. There are multiple people that you have to engage with in order to close the deal. There is a stakeholder, there is the gatekeeper from the account, there's the technical decision maker who is looking at the technology and how it works with the rest of the stack. There is the economical decision maker who cares about the ROI. There's the user. So there are different constituents for closing a B2B deal. You have to figure out who are those 5, 6, 10 people that you have to touch in order to close that deal. Find them within those list of accounts. And so you get a list of accounts, then you prioritize them, and then you find your ideal customer profile within those accounts, your buying committee, and now you have an audience. When you have the audience, now you begin to actually execute, meaning you're going to start running campaigns against those particular audiences, trying to get them to your website, to your landing pages, and opt in. And then as you start running those campaigns, especially if you run it at scale, you want to start optimizing all those different campaigns. A campaign essentially is made out of a collateral, a creative, a copy, an audience you go after, a channel, a campaign type. And so that combination leads to a campaign. If you have 100 of them, you want to start optimizing those campaigns, not based on just vanity metrics like impressions and clicks, but rather optimize them based on pipeline impact. Did those campaigns generate leads? Did those leads turn into MQLs? Did those MQLs turn into SQL and into opportunities? And so that's how you want to optimize your campaign. And be prepared that vast majority of your campaigns are not going to generate pipeline. Maybe 20% of them will generate pipeline. But by the process of experimentation, you will actually go through the exercise of understanding for what audience and for what persona, what campaigns are most effective. And then once you find those hidden gems, you can start doubling and tripling down your investment and then clone and further optimize those campaigns. Next slide. So I'm going to hand it over to Tukan from LeadSift, who's going to double down on what exactly is buyer intent, how they get it, and then what kind of ROI it can provide for your converse marketing campaigns. Tukan,
Cool.
take it away.
Thanks, Gail. So hello, everyone. My name is Tukan. I'm the CEO and co-founder of LeadSift. LeadSift at a super high level, is a sales intelligence platform that helps other B2B technology companies streamline their sales and marketing efforts, leveraging behavioral intent data. What I mean by that is, Colin, can you go to the next slide? Is as Gail mentioned, the number one goal for a marketer is building pipeline for sales. And when they go about building pipeline for sales, one of the challenges they're faced with is they have a total addressable market, but the challenge there is not all the companies in their addressable market is currently in market to buy your product or service. Only a certain percentage of them are, currently in market actively researching. And it's absolutely imperative for a marketer is figuring out who those companies are, what are those buyer personas that are actively looking for a solution like yours, and get in front of them with the right message at the right time. Now, to do that, traditionally what we see is you would have a CRM and a marketing automation system. Those are two fundamental components of your sales and martech stack, where the CRM is responsible for who are people that are in your sales pipeline, what are your key accounts looking like, who are your salespeople talking to currently, who they have spoken to 6 months ago, and things like that. And then the marketing automation is basically tracking who's coming to your websites, who's filling out your form, how your marketing campaigns are doing, which is great. But one of the challenges with both of them is they're providing insights and information on your own content, properties that you own. What we see at LeadSift is there's a lot of interesting conversation, a lot of interesting buying signals that are happening on the outside world that you as a business care about to figure out who you should go after, but you do not have a ton of insight on. At LeadSift, that's what we focus on, is uncovering these behavioral intent or buying signals, if you may, from the outside world in helping you figure out which part of your total addressable market should you be focusing your marketing and sales efforts on. Colin, next slide. So the way we tackle this problem of uncovering these signals from the outside web is looking at different kinds of intent signals. Some of the intent signal could be anytime you see someone talking to or about your competitor, engaging with them, or vice versa, or talking to a partner, or talking to a complementary company, that's a pretty good signal giving us an indication that there might be something going on. A signal could be someone researching about your industry or your topic, or engaging content or showing interest about the kind of content that your industry caters to. That's a good signal. A signal could be someone attending a specific trade show or an industry conference. That could be a great buying signal for you to get in front of them. A signal could be someone hiring for a specific role, or if there has been a change in a senior function in the last 3 months. Those are all different signals that LeadSift captures by crawling the entire public web, picking up those signals, and then providing you insights into the accounts that you should be targeting or pre-targeting as these people go through the buying journey. Just to put some context into how this works, Colin, next slide, is we basically crawl the public web for you, looking for these signals of interest and intent. You as a customer, all you need to do is you need to come in, define your criteria, saying, these are the companies that we are interested in monitoring because this is my ecosystem. You define your keywords, industry events, any influencers in your space that you want to monitor. Then you define some firmographic criteria to define your total addressable market. And from there on, LeadSift picks up these signals on a daily basis and then provides this intelligence into directly in your CRM, your marketing automation, or an ABM tool like Metadata. The beauty of this is the same information is sort of used in 3 different use cases. One is a certain percentage of the signals will be on your known accounts that are in your CRM that your sales folks are talking to, but you do not have a ton of insights what these accounts are doing on the outside web. Now you can. The second part is identifying net new accounts that are showing signals of interest or intent that you had no idea about. Now you can target them with highly targeted ad campaigns using tools like metadata across different channels. And third, some of those signals actually come from existing customers that start talking to your competitor or about your industry. So there might be a great opportunity either from a land and expand opportunity or from a customer success. So that's what LeadSift does at a super high level. And I guess I'll hand it back to you, Yale, to talk about some of the tactical use cases of activating the data and some results.
Wonderful. Thank you, Tukan.
Always.
So let's take a kind of a pragmatic, example of what are we actually talking about? Like we're talking about A/B testing instead. We're talking about buyer intent. You talk about all the different variables, and you're running a campaign. In front of you, you can actually see an example of how do you very quickly end up with a very large number of possible campaigns that you could run, and how do you tackle that? So imagine that you want to start, that you have a list of 5,000 accounts that LeadSift provided to you that are telling you those 5,000 accounts are currently in the market for your product or solution. So you want to really go and start activating those accounts. You want to start showing those accounts and the relevant people within those accounts, different ads about your product or service, and you want to start getting them engaged with that content. So let's say you want to run those ads on Facebook, LinkedIn, and programmatic. And let's say you also want to divide those 5,000, let's say so you're going after 5,000 companies that this is provided. Let's say you're going after, I don't know, 10 people within each company. So you end up with an audience of 50,000 people. Now you're not going to go after those 50,000 people all at once. You're going to, or we recommend that you segment it. You segment those 50,000 people by industry. You segment them by product that they're using. You segment the people by the seniority, by their function, by the size of the company. So you can basically segment the list so that the messages, even if it's the same creative, same collateral, the message can be a little different when you talk about a company that is 100 people, when you talk to a company that is 1,000 people. It's a little different when you talk to the CMO and you talk to the director level. And so definitely recommended to segment it. So let's assume that you're going to run it against 5 different audience segments. And then let's also say that one time you're going to run a lead gen campaign where on Facebook or LinkedIn, they click on the ad, they pop up, they get a pop-up right away, which pre-fills their information, and they just click on download or read now for your asset. Or the other campaign type would be a landing page. We just redirect them to a landing page. And so let's assume those are your choices. Now, on the other end, in terms of the ad itself, let's say you're trying 4 different options for a creative, 3 different copies for each and every one of those 4 creatives, and then you're trying 3 different assets. One time it's an ebook, one time it's a white paper, one time it's a webinar. What I just proposed is not out of the ordinary. Like every company in our space has a resources page with multiple different assets, like the case studies and the webinar and the ebooks. And you all have tried before Facebook and LinkedIn and retargeting. And so the options here are really not out of the ordinary. However, the result of actually trying to experiment with 1,080 different campaigns, because you really have to multiply all of the different variables here. 3 channels times 5 audiences times 2 offers times 3 assets times 3 ad text and copy times 4 ad creatives, you end up with a very large number of campaigns. Now, if I told you, or if you told your VP of demand generation that you're going to run 1,000 campaigns for them in the next month, they will look at you surprisingly, because it's very hard to run through 1,080 combinations. But for a computer, it's not hard at all. And that's exactly, next slide, why where our technology allows you to really take advantage of both automation, just simple software automation, enhanced by artificial intelligence to automate all of the different tasks that are involved in running account-based targeting or account-based advertising campaigns for B2B company particularly, and using AI to optimize those campaigns, not based on vanity metrics that agencies usually focus on, like impressions and clicks, but rather focus on the KPIs that you care about. As a CMO, you care about pipeline. And so just take a look on the left-hand side. just building those audiences, segmenting them, merging data sets together. Like, okay, you have a list of companies from LeadSift. How do you know who to go after within those companies? You have to merge it with another, maybe a demographic kind of contact data database. Generating the UTN tags to each and every one of those campaigns, enriching every lead that converted from each and every one of those campaigns. There are many, many different tasks that are involved. It will take you a long time to try and do it on your own, and it will be prone to error. When humans are doing that kind of technical work, it's prone to error. With metadata, you can really run with just one person those thousands of campaigns within an hour or so. The metadata platform will connect to your Facebook, LinkedIn, and other solution via OAuth, and will automatically execute that operation for you. And so the result at the end of the day is going to be a lead to opportunity ratio increase. That's really what you're getting out of account-based marketing. You're getting the leads from the accounts that you're going after, and you're getting the MQL to SQL conversion ratio much higher, because now you're bringing only the relevant leads from the relevant accounts. And by optimizing your 1,000 campaigns or more, you really find those hidden gems campaigns that end up generating 80% of your leads, 80% of your pipeline. Next slide. So one of the things that you get, one of the benefits that you get by using artificial intelligence is you get more sophisticated over time. This just shows an example of last year's campaign. We've yet to really complete the data for the rest of the quarters, but this just shows you that over time, Metadata AI is actually running more and more campaigns. Just in Q2 itself, we ran about 30,000 different campaigns for our customers. And so that number is growing exponentially as we run more and more campaigns for our customers. It also means that the confidence rate for the AI who is running the campaign is going higher, meaning the percentage of great campaigns that the AI is running is going high. And every new customer who is joining and started to take advantage of the platform is already getting it in a much more sophisticated manner. It already has those capabilities that it learned from a previous customer. Next slide. So there are many different kind of advantages of using automation in account-based marketing and buyer intent. First of all, you only target the right people in the right company. So accuracy and targeting capabilities at max, it really benefits you because you're not going to end up bringing the wrong traffic to your website, and you're not going to bring to your salespeople leads that are irrelevant. That's the first thing. Second thing, you're going to kind of save a whole lot of time because your team is not going to be spending their time buying data, segmenting it, doing A/B testing, UTN tags, enriching data. All of those tasks are going to be automated now by metadata. And then the biggest metric that, again, the VP of marketing or the CMO cares about is pipeline. You can see on the left bottom hand side, a company called Refuel4. They were able to see 50% increase from lead to opportunity ratio. That means that for every 100 leads, if they were able to get before 10 good MQLs out of them, now they're getting 5. If they were able to get 10 opportunities out of 1,000 leads, now they're getting 15. And so that is a very big metric because it really gives you a clear return on investment on your campaigns. And the second thing that you can see is that by using buyer intent, from LeadSift with metadata, Refuel was actually able to significantly increase their MQL ratio. So for every 100 leads that they get, they start seeing more and more MQLs. You may in the beginning of running account-based marketing get a smaller number of leads. The velocity of the leads may go down because you're targeting less people. You're not doing a spray and pray anymore. But over time, you will see that you can control the volume completely by changing your budgets. But most importantly, that the quality of the leads that come through is higher. Next slide. And so before we end, we kind of go into Q&A, I wanted to kind of walk through a few different campaigns that are possible with the bundle of LeadSift and metadata. The first campaign is classic account-based marketing. This is the pre-targeting campaign we've just been talking about throughout this webinar. You have a list of 1,000 companies you want to go after. You have a list of 5 to 10 people that you want to go after within those companies. You upload this list of companies, and Metadata will pre-target them for you. They'll wake up in the morning, they will see your ad everywhere they go. That's the first classic use case of ABM. But there's also sales acceleration. Let's say you already have 50 opportunities in your pipeline that you're trying to accelerate. You're trying to get it into a closed loss or a closed won. Obviously, you prefer closed won, but really it's better to have a closed loss opportunity than a limbo opportunity. So what do you do? What do you do with those opportunities that are kind of sleeping in? Well, you can take middle and the bottom of the funnel assets, like, for example, case studies. Like, for example, it could be an ROI or total cost of ownership. It could be your pricing competitive advantage. It could be anything that might be relevant, or a webinar like this, anything that might move them from a maybe to a yes. And then we'll find those people within those companies that are currently with an open opportunity and serve them those ads, because you may not be able to reach them via email, but if you do it on omni-channel and you find them within multiple different channels, you will reach them and get their mind share. Competitive targeting is also an interesting one, where you actually go after companies who are using your competition. So if you're a NoSQL database, maybe a proprietary one, and you're going after companies using, for example, Apache Cassandra, it will get you a very nice audience of people, and you can run a very specific message against them. You can say why our database is better than the open source one, or why you should use our solution versus another one, or maybe even have a testimonial of a customer who used the other solution before. And so those are the types of campaigns that you can run with a combination of Metadata and LeadSift, really automating your operations. Imagine that you are building this demand generation engine that constantly runs and optimizes campaigns against those lists of named accounts, whether they're just your general list or your competitor, complementary technologies that they show buyer intent, any of those audiences, and you will see day by day leads coming through from those particular accounts. And as you progress those leads and turn them into MQLs and SQL, you'll suddenly notice that those campaigns that you're running are automatically being optimized to generate more of that traction. Next slide. Wonderful. So Colin, I'm going to hand it over to you to start the Q&A session.
Yes, thanks, Gil. So just as we noted at the beginning, please use the Q&A box within the GoToWebinar console to ask any questions that you have for Gil or Tukan. They're starting to come in here a little bit. So first question is, how can the system, and I'm assuming this is talking about metadata, although metadata and LeadSift, how can the system get enough data for a 1,000 or plus variable test with just $1,000 in spend?
Perhaps you can repeat the numbers.
So you went through the example of a 1,000 campaign test, and so the person's asking how do you get that many? How do you get enough data from just like spending $1,000 in ad spend, or really what is kind of the minimum, I guess, to get that good data out of that?
That's a great question. Okay, so the question really is about what budget is appropriate to set up experimentation in such a way that you get enough statistical sample where it's relevant. And so the question is right on point. We use as a best practice internally in Metadata a $15 to $25 per day per experiment. And so if you're running a 1,000 experiment campaign, depending on the length of that campaign, you're going to have a few tens of thousands of dollars at the very least to run this kind of operation. Otherwise, like you mentioned, it's going to be diminishing returns. You won't even be able to pace some of those campaigns. Now, it's important to mention that out of those 1,000 campaigns, only a small portion of them will actually pace. Only even smaller portion of that will pace properly with a good cost per click, and only a lower portion of that will actually generate leads that turn into MQL, that turn into SQL, and turn into opportunities. So it's not like you're running 1,000 campaigns in parallel, and you need to feed it $25 per experiment per day for as long as you're running this experiment, because that's going to cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars and a huge waste. The way we do it is by segmenting the experiments and do it gradually. And so maybe we will run the first 50, 100 campaigns, find the 20 that are successful, the 80 that are not successful, eliminate the 80 very quickly, only spend, let's say, a few $100s, a few $1,000s at most, and then move to the next set of experiments. And at any point of time, keep accumulating those successful kind of hidden gem campaigns that are generating good results. And over time, the optimization will be done based on actual funnel activity. And so $1,000, I would say, would be in the dozens of experiments and not in the thousand.
Okay, so yeah, once again, feel free to enter your questions into the Q&A panel. I think we've got one here for Tukan. Tukan, how do you define the criteria for intent data, and can LeadSift help with that process if, I'm assuming they're talking about if the customer themselves don't, really have a good handle on what those criteria should be?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the way we work with our customers is, the first thing we do is we start off by going through an exercise where they map out their competitive landscape. Then they define list of topics that describe their business well. So we go through that exercise together to come up with companies to track, players in the ecosystem to track, and keywords and topics to track. The other thing that we do is we actually do what we call a look back analysis. Is we actually get the data from their Salesforce or their CRM of all the accounts that they have closed in the last 6 months, or are in their pipeline that haven't closed. We look at the data, and what we do is we see what kind of topics or keywords or competitors have these companies been engaging with in the last 6 months. And that gives us a very good indication of what kind of intent topics or signals should they focus on. So we do a combination of both look ahead and also a look back to come up with a list of core set of signals to track for the customers.
Okay, great. Another question that's come in is Metadata using its own landing pages, or do you use advertiser website landing pages, or and I guess related to that is, would you be using like a marketing automation landing page for the campaigns?
Yeah, so we don't use our own landing pages. We certainly use our customers. And so if you have HubSpot, we have a native integration to HubSpot. You have Marketo, we have a native integration to Marketo, and many others. And so you'll be able to automatically take advantage of the landing page that you already set up and just put our pixel there. That will be our pixel essentially includes all the pixels you'll ever have to put. It includes the conversion pixel, includes an enrichment pixel, a cache lead pixel. It includes understanding what companies are visiting your landing pages but are not converting. And so just by taking advantage of that pixel, you can essentially make any unbounced lead pages, HubSpot, Marketo landing page into an appropriate destination for a metadata campaign.
Okay, and one question here about, I think for Gil, for tracking URLs. Can the customer customize those tracking URLs, or does metadata do that automatically?
Both is the answer. We have a UTM module where it automatically suggests the UTM tags, like the channel and the campaign tags, so on and so forth. But you can completely customize it. We work with some enterprise customers that have their own UTM tag rules, and they've been working like that for years, and we definitely don't want to change that. And so throughout that module, you can customize the way the system will build your UTM tags, and it will automatically append that for every URL, for every campaign that we send out.
Okay, great. So yeah, once again, if you have any other final questions for either Tukan or Gil, please enter them in. Just a reminder that we did record today's session, and we will be sending you an email in the next day or so with a link to the recording. Doesn't look like we have any other questions here, gentlemen. So thank you very much for joining us today. Tukan and Gil, thanks for the presentation, and we look forward to seeing everybody on a future webinar.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.